Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, the two best moderators in all of YouTube. Thank you, gentlemen. To my super chat, thank you so much. You give me every incentive to rock these live streams, and I'm just thankful for your support. To my new Patreons, thank you. The Patreon link is below in the description, or it's in the description of all my uploads. I don't usually put anything really on the live stream description, but all my uploads, you will see links to hagoodman.com. You could read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, The Roanoke Times, other publications. You could see my debates there. Speaking of debates, so to my Patreon, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so very much. And to the moderators, thank you. When you look at Tucker Carlson, just type in Tucker Carlson. So you have a Democrat using profanity against him. And I can understand why actually this specific Democrat did that. But that's not really Tucker Carlson's, his point pertaining to a whole lot of subjects his points are not addressed. They don't ever debate. You would think that Democrats would want to debate this individual. You would think that they want to engage in discourse, dialogue. You would think that, for example, AOC would want to debate Ben Shapiro on why Medicare for All was important, why we needed Medicare for All to save lives. But we know now that she doesn't even want a floor vote. So, and Jimmy Dore, they're going after. You have the Daily Beast running a hit piece on Jimmy Dore, a bunch of hit pieces on Tim Pool. For what? Because they offer a vantage point that is coherent. They offer these well thought out arguments, and they're very effective in communicating their vantage point, their viewpoint, their opinions. They have millions of people listening to them all the time. And you have mainstream saying that Trump worked with Putin. That never happened. You have mainstream saying that Trump pressured a foreign government. That never happened. You have mainstream saying that Trump is the reason that a horrendous tragedy took place. Nobody's ever accused of him that in a court of law. He's acquitted twice. Did Trump say things perhaps he shouldn't have said? Sure. But you know what? You would think that media would not harp on any comments or statements that they found offensive from President Trump. To the contrary, they amplified they obsessed over every tweet. They focused on not only what Trump said, but the subliminals. And because there's a contingent of really horrible people that vote alongside Trump, and Trump said find people, and he was specifically referring to the 1930s and 1940s Germans. No, he wasn't. You could look at the C-SPAN quote. He wasn't. You can look at the C-SPAN quote, and I'm not referring to the 1930s and 1940s Germans. Yet, the same people, literally the same journalists that went after Tim Pool and Jimmy Dore and others. And these are basically, Tim Pool voted for President Trump, but Jimmy Dore is on the left. Let's look at the C-SPAN quote right now. Hold on one second. C-SPAN. So if you look, the C-SPAN, very fine people, quote, never happened. Literally wasn't talking about the 1930s. And let's just start off with one of the biggest lies of all time. You have media that had a specific goal, a specific agenda. You can look. Here's the C-SPAN clip. Let's look at, hold on one second. Those people should, those people should be condemned right here. Hold on one second. Another. I have condemned the 1930s and 1940s Germans. Right there. Excuse me. I have condemned them. I have condemned the different groups. Okay, and he explained, but not all the people in the 1930s and 1940s Germans. And I'm actually obviously using, we condemned in the strongest possible terms. I have condemned the 1930s and 1940s Germans, not speaking of the nationalists because they should be condemned totally. 19 minutes and 22 seconds in. The same journalist who went after Tim Pool and Jimmy Dore and Nico House and others literally overlooked because they should be condemned totally. I have condemned. He used the words condemned 3 different times within that fateful exchange. And you can look at the C-SPAN quote. Just go user clips, Trump's quote, very fine people. If you could just type in very fine people it was the August 15th, 2017 clip of President Trump news conference, cspan.org, user created clip August 6th, 2019. And he's actually stating in the video, he used the word condemned 3 different times. He condemned the 1930s and 1940s Germans, which is obviously a word I cannot use because of the algorithm. He condemned them 3 different times. He tried to explain he wasn't the horrendous Tiki Torch people. This was propaganda. This was not true. This was complete and utter. These were complete and utter lies. So that's the first lie that you were told with media. Then the second one, you can just look. It's in the C-SPAN quote. He condemned them unequivocally numerous times. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Aria Lee. Thank you. Fun to help you buy a better computer or internet. Thank you so much. You know what's funny? It's like this computer in particular. I have a couple computers. This particular computer is always updating, and there's just nothing I can do about it, and I don't know why. It updates. It updates in the most, inopportune times. And Aria, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. So, of course, it's updating now, but hopefully it'll just stop. Deplorable Brian! One time he literally condemned, and they immediately asked, why won't you condemn? Exactly. Aria Lee, thank you, Aria. I hope all is well. Thank you so very much, as always. Deplorable Brian, thank you. Thank you so much. What they do is they condemn and judge, disown friends and family, listen to MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, Daily Beast, Vanity Fair, Esquire, New Yorker, Rolling Stone, Atlantic, Mother Jones, The Nation. They all say the same exact thing. Democrats are good. Trump is horrible. He worked with Russia. He speaks to really bad people. They listen to him. It's pretty unbelievable. It's like the same exact, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, and Deplorable Brian, thank you. Aria Lee, thank you. This is why Agent Pepsi, doing my tiny bit to get you away from Windows. No, DOS. Agent Pepsi, remember DOS? You might not remember DOS, but Agent Pepsi, thank you. This is why they don't engage in any debate. They don't engage in any debate or discourse because they don't need to. If they can stifle discussion, if they can say that you're just like, if they can insult you, demean you with ad hominem insults, they don't have to deal with your argument. They don't engage in debate. You would think that everybody would want to be debating Tucker Carlson right now. But they don't. Fox News has to go and search for people to debate Tucker Carlson. His arguments, you can disagree with them, but his arguments are well thought out. You can't simply say that he's regurgitating what intelligence officials have told him or what experts have told him, because there are, one would think, experts that disagree with our... So just to hear the question. In the crisis of the past year, are there any experts that disagree with Democratic experts? Was there only one way to view, like, you look at the highest unemployment rates, top 13 highest unemployment rates are in Democratic-run states. Top 13 highest unemployment rates are in Democratic-run states. The worst outcomes, 7 of the top 11 worst outcomes in terms of the crisis are in Democratic-run states. So how is that Trump's fault? But they pontificate and judge and condemn the most. They pontificate and judge and condemn the most. And that's how they do things. It's about emotion. They're trying to, it's not about policies, because they're not going to implement the policies like Medicare for All, Green New Deal, all of these policies that they claim to want. Excuse me, universal basic income, $15 minimum wage. So they're not going to implement the policies that they claim are morally superior policies. They believe, like, they've replaced religion. You understand? When you have to engage only in hyperbole, when Trump is a despot and an authoritarian because of his personality, do you understand that Tucker Carlson's personality, it's not like the fact that, like, Tucker Carlson and Trump have different personalities, but they both don't care what the left thinks. They don't care what Democrats or media or liberals or the left or the prevailing orthodoxies or the sacred cows or political correctness or any of this nonsense, generally nonsense, that Democrats have propped up to deflect from their absolute failures. They have every conceivable possible advantage. Every publication, New York Times, Washington Post, Daily Beast, New Yorker, The Atlantic, Rolling Stone, Esquire, Vanity Fair, Mother Jones, The Nation, Time Magazine. I mean, give me one of those publications that devoted an article to something good President did. President Trump did. The Abraham Accords, maybe. First president stepped foot in North Korea. Warp speed, which is the shot in the arm everyone's getting. That's from Trump's administration. First president to allocate more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. Prison reform legislation. We had record low unemployment throughout most of President Trump's tenure, and then they focused on Trump Russia. Anything good he did, they've never given him a chance. Just like they don't, like, Tucker Carlson's a little bit different, but they don't like Tucker Carlson's personality. They didn't like Trump's personality because Trump really doesn't care what they think. And in a way, he should have a little. He shouldn't have said certain things, because as president, even if you want to, keep it real or be genuine or authentic, you should perhaps watch what you say here and there. But see, Democrats don't blame, if somebody commits an atrocity or horrendous act, they say, well, he was influenced, or he was allowed to do this because of a law. It's like criminals don't follow the law. You can look at what happened in January. You could look at their Second Amendment arguments. It's like, no, criminals don't follow the law. It was already against the law to do. If criminals followed the law, then they wouldn't be breaking they're breaking laws because they don't care. So Democrats say, we'll just enact another legal statute. That'll save society. It's like, no, because people who are nuts actually don't care about those things. You have to focus, like, there's a certain level of individual responsibility. They say, well, those ideas. And then when you look at, like, anyone who, like, presents, like, a different viewpoint, the viewpoint is never addressed. It's always go after the messenger. Always go after the messenger. That's it. Ad hominem, disparaging insults, go after the messenger. So what, like, do you see any... You type in Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is the new Donald Trump. Brian Stettle says, okay, Marines apologize will change. Okay, I don't want to use the word. After Twitter words with Tucker Carlson. What is a branch of the military doing tweeting to Tucker Carlson? What does that... All of these government agencies or, like... They're supposed to be apolitical. So, you, like... In social media now, you have this cyber world where, you have Democrats insulting him, using profanity. They're not senior military leadership rebukes Tucker. Does CBS ever ask veterans who agree with Tucker Carlson? Because there are many. I'm not even going to give my viewpoint. Because I haven't served in the military. So I don't think that my viewpoint, I don't think I'm warranted, at this juncture, right, at this moment, to give my viewpoint on what Tucker Carlson and what others have been debating. But do you think maybe there are retired generals? Do you think maybe there are active duty, officers and personnel and you think maybe there are Americans who perhaps agree with Tucker Carlson? That's not to say agree, like, he's actually not saying what they think he's saying. He's not saying that a certain group shouldn't serve at all. He's talking about a completely different world that Democrats or Biden want to create. Okay? That is not what, it's actually not what, that's not what a certain Democrat that used profanity against Tucker Carlson was. That's not even he's actually not saying that she shouldn't have served. He's not. That's not his argument. But see, again, they don't even address his argument. It's all public relations. Washington Post, President Biden heals America by muting Tucker Carlson? No. Actually, America would be healed more by listening to him or listening to his viewpoint. Agent Pepsi! I served in the Army, MOS 15 years, and I agree with him. Well, Agent Pepsi, thank you. And you're a woman, and you agree with Tucker Carlson. Are there female veterans like Agent Pepsi who agree with Tucker Carlson? Yeah, I think there are. But it's always our experts back us. Our experts know what really is the right way to do things. They're not addressing his argument. So the Washington Post wants to mute Tucker Carlson. They want to impeach Trump. Why don't they just say we work for the Democratic Party? Why don't they just say that? I would actually respect the Washington Post so much more if they just said, look, we work for the Democratic Party, and that's it. It would be like so much for everyone if they were just honest. If they were simply just honest. Disagree with Tucker Carlson. You can disagree with him. You don't have to agree with him. That's my point. You don't have to agree with the man. Agreeing with one pundit or one vantage point. It's not about agreeing with one vantage point. Oh, okay, 15Y, sorry. Agent Pepsi, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the bad connection. Let's see, hopefully, if this the buffering can will stop. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me okay right now? Oh, Lord. All right, let's see if we can go ahead and... Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you can... Let me know if you can hear me all right. Oh my God, still... Luke St. Martin, thank you. Eric, thank you. Gosh, so annoying. You know, my computer does this, and I have no reason, I have no understanding why. Unbelievable. Well, let me know if you can hear. Okay, the sound's okay. All right, so let's continue. So that's the point. It's like nobody is saying that you have to agree with Tucker Carlson or President Trump, but don't say that Trump is a despot. Once you've said that he's an authoritarian, you've lost any argument. You've lost any argument. You just don't like his personalities. You have no argument. You have no argument at all. You've lost his... See, this is funny too, because like I've gotten into debates with people that I know, unfortunately, don't ever do that. I've gotten into debates with people that I know, and they just get into this frenzy. They can't deal with any facts or reason because, you know what's interesting? They've lost track of what an actual argument or debate is. There are rebuttals to, for example, Trump is an authoritarian and a despot. Like, actually, he's not. Here's why. And then when you explain, oh, well, here are the reasons why Trump is not an authoritarian and not a despot, that just gets them enraged. That's why, you have liberal Democrats disowning Friends, because they're surrounded by the same groupthink. They view it to be a religion. It's their theology. It's their religion, Their biases are reinforced by MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times. So they actually think that's reality. It wasn't reality when WMD was served as the basis for George W. Bush's foreign policy. It wasn't reality when the Gulf of Tonkin was being pushed by the same publications and networks. It wasn't reality when they talked about Facebook ads swinging people's decisions. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like they have this tried and true method. It's not even about what Tucker Carlson, his arguments. They can't really address any of his arguments because they'll say something that's vapid, or they'll engage in an ad hominem insult, and then they'll say, okay, well, that's the end of it. That's the argument. It's like, no. That isn't the argument. There's a rebuttal. Here's the rebuttal. You can disagree with Tucker Carlson, but he makes sense. he forms an argument. Where's the Republican Party in this? Where's the Republican Party asking veterans for their viewpoint? And by the way, the moment that veterans, military veterans, or active duty military personnel, I mean, the Twitter account is run by, like, who runs that Twitter account? But the second that you have veterans speaking out and saying, no, I agree with Fox News, or I agree with... Veterans voted 2-1 for Trump, and they did both times. So it's like you're probably going to get, if you speak to most veterans, they're probably going to side with Tucker Carlson. They're probably not going to side with. They're probably not going to agree with the ultra liberal Democrat who wants gun control and has certain viewpoints on how the military should operate. But again, when they don't like a viewpoint or an opinion, or they don't like what you stand for or your argument, public relations, they go after you. They say you're a bad person. They say you're either sexist or racist when you're not. They absolutely love to engage in ad hominem hit pieces just based on public relations. So when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post, I got hit pieces from just people that just wanted to disparage me. That's it. Why? Because I was on the left, but not saying that Hillary Clinton was the best candidate of all time, the most qualified candidate of all time. Notice that I was like 4 years ahead. They were eventually petrified of the thought that she'd run again. So when I was saying that she was a horrendous candidate, I was this horrible person. But when the notion that she would run again, they were petrified. They got the same person, pretty much the same person. But it's like, there's not like, you don't, this is why 74 million Americans voted for President Trump, okay? You don't have, most of these arguments don't gain traction outside of social media and just the public relations sphere. If you don't have Twitter, you don't have the Democratic Party. They live in cyberspace, pretty much, with the algorithms and with the Twitter or Facebook, especially Twitter. You don't have any of these arguments or like these orthodoxies or these sacred cows or this kind of political correctness on, like this exponential, it's like political correctness times a billion. These are the days where you can actually, there was actually they went after, hold on one second. So hold on. There was a comedian. Okay, so it was Steve Martin. Steve Martin wrote a very thoughtful, this is like a couple of years, this is in 2016, okay? It was just starting. President Trump had just won, and oh my God, the nuttiest people were emboldened. Craig S., thank you, Craig. Greatly appreciated, Craig, thank you. Steve Martin deletes Carrie Fisher tribute after backlash. What did this man do? What on earth did this man do wrong? He wrote, this is what he wrote. What did this man do wrong? When I was young, when I was a young man, Carrie Fisher, she was the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen. She turned out to be witty and bright as well. What was wrong with this tweet? My God almighty. It was a beautiful, nice, thoughtful, like Steve Martin wrote, a beautiful, thoughtful tribute to Carrie Fisher. How on earth could any sane person find this offensive? Oh, that's right, it's Twitter. Oh, that's right, it's Twitter. So, can you tell me Carrie Fisher was the most beautiful creature I've ever seen? She turned out to be witty and bright as well. What is wrong with that? Oh my God, are you insinuating that looks can't correlate to beauty? Oh my God, this is completely nutty. And the poor man had to delete his tweet. If you put, cyberspace is a place for negativity, like people who don't have a political voice, or people whose negativity and negative thoughts and negativity is a powerful tool for people who don't have just regular ordinary people in cyberspace, who haven't written a book or who don't haven't been published or haven't they want to get their voice heard. And what better way than to especially and they're schooled or they believe in these sacred cows, these new orthodoxies. So Steve Martin's tweet was just a horrendous thing to say. What did he do wrong? It was a beautiful compliment. She was beautiful and intelligent. That doesn't mean, where in that statement did he ever say you can't be beautiful and intelligent? Where? It would be the equivalent of saying, honey, where did you put the remote control? The remote control? You think I sit on the couch all day? Are you saying I sit on the couch all day eating Doritos? You think you're trying to say I'm lazy. No, I just asked where the remote control was. No, there's a hidden meaning there that only I know. You know what? I'm going to condemn and judge you as somebody who's a horrible human being, making me a very good human being in comparison. Actually, when I condemn and judge, I become better and better as an individual. When I fly up to the pearly gates, I'm going to go to God and say, you see how many people I've condemned and judged, God? I'm really good now, aren't I? Let me in. Let me in to the pearly gates. I've condemned and judged Steve Martin and everyone else in cyberspace. You cannot say anything good, decent, kind anymore. Everything has a subliminal. Oh my God, they're going after Twilight. You can't even watch a movie about vampires. You can't even watch a movie about vampires. You can't do forget about watching Mel Brooks. Mark White! Good day, Mr. Goodman. Cheers, Mad Cow Mark. Mad Cow Mark! That's right, Mad Cow Mark. Hello! To my Australian crew, thank you. Mad Cow Mark, thank you. Mark White, thank you so very, very much. Mark, thank you. Greatly, 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 greatly appreciated, Mark. Thank you so very, very much. They don't have, Mark, thank you so much. Mark, everyone here, they don't have specific policies. Each one of these, CNN, the person who Bernie Sanders unendorsed, because they're all nutty, they have to endorse. I officially endorse this pundit who has 4 million subscribers. I officially endorse you. 2 days later, I officially unendorse you. Why? Because I was told to do so. I have to be moral. You had written really horrendous things 20 years ago. And I just don't see it. It wouldn't be right to endorse you for political office, even though you would pretty much, I guess, maybe push for the policies I want. But it really doesn't matter. I was told to unendorse you. I endorsed you, but now I unendorse you. I endorsed you before, but now I will unendorse you. And there has to be an orderly withdrawal. What's Trump doing? Removing Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Paul, thank you. Mark White, thank you. All you have to do if you're, like, in the public eye. I've been told that, like, I'm a public individual, like, I'm in the public eye. I'm like, nobody knows who I am. Thankfully, it's pretty fine by me. I mean, that could change. I could go on Fox. I could go on MSNBC, whatever. I'm fine. I've been on TV before. I hold my own just fine, actually. Which is actually, like, I actually contacted MSNBC and CNN the past couple of years because I was on there for four times. I'm like, hey, if you need anybody to defend Trump, let me know. And they know I would do an excellent job. So, like, they didn't. they actually don't want anyone who can defend the president in an effective manner. Okay, because I know the Achilles heel of the Democrat. I know numerous Achilles heels of the Democratic Party. I know exactly how they think and what undermines all their arguments. But Democrats don't live they don't live anywhere else but cyberspace, really. Mark White, thank you again. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Like, if you're a public individual with, like, a pretty large profile and you have the means, don't cave. You know who doesn't cave? William Shatner. He's awesome. William Shatner. He's like, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. He is absolutely hilarious. It's like, I love the original series. The original series is my favorite. My God, they're going after... This is a little while back. They were going... a couple weeks ago, they're going after... oh my God, they're going after certain Star Trek episodes. Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. I'm going to create this new... like art or like this new artistic genre called the head nod. Everything, comedy, sci-fi, everything will be like, No laughter, no music. Do you know how many Ramones songs, Misfits songs, Pistols songs would be banned today? Not to mention Two Live Crew, who was already banned. Two Live Crew is one of the great bands of all time, really. Two Live Crew is one of the great bands of all time. They don't get the credit that they deserve. I just don't think that they get the credit they deserve in terms of rap and hip-hop. But let's see. Who would you not have in today's world run by imbeciles and morally superior wonderful people. Wonderful, amazing, wonderful people. Let's see. You wouldn't have Mel Brooks. He'd be problematic. You wouldn't have Mel Brooks. You wouldn't have George Carlin. He'd be problematic. You wouldn't have Lenny Bruce. Books, actually, I'm there's a whole bunch of comedians you wouldn't have. Actually, you probably wouldn't have Eddie Murphy. You wouldn't have Richard Pryor. Oh, I love Bernie Mac. Love Bernie Mac. I love Bernie Mac. You wouldn't have Bernie Mac in this world because Twitter would find his comedy offensive. You wouldn't have the show in living color, exactly. You wouldn't have, I guess the original Star Trek is problematic. Indiana Jones would be problematic. The original Star Wars would be problematic. Okay, so music, punk music, you wouldn't... Okay, there's a whole bunch of Ramones songs, obviously, Misfits songs, Pistols, Kennedy's, which is odd because they're like on the far left. You wouldn't have their songs. Actually, you would. No, you would. They would survive this, would they? They would survive this. Yeah, George Carlin, of course. You wouldn't have all of these amazing... Two Live Crew wouldn't survive this world. I mean, Two Live Crew is one of the great bands of all time. Let's see. This puritanical, this cyber puritanical, bizarre... You'd basically have no one. Exactly. Vasco, exactly. Who would you have? And where are these judgments emanating from? Twitter. Who cares? Who cares if you're just simply ignore? If you ignore the people who condemn and judge. But see, that's the thing. What they rely on hit pieces and smear pieces to hurt people's sources of income. And then if you actually point out, hey, this journalist is engaging in the most unethical behavior. Oh my God, you know what? You're doing exactly what we're doing to you. And then they say, you're doing, Sparky. Most states are pro-Trump. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West should lead them to constitutional convention, adding anti-corruption measures such as term limits. Sparky. Yeah, exactly. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, I think would agree with Tucker Carlson. But it's interesting too because where's the emphasis? So for people who want everyone to serve, okay, that's your argument. Do you want to bring home? I want to bring home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. This is the biggest moral dilemma we face as a country. To leave Americans, and now even the children of veterans are serving in the same quagmires. I want to bring them home. I want to bring them home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. But the same people who get offended at comedy shows don't care. This is a problem. If you get offended at comedy shows, don't go to see the comedian. Don't go to see the comedian. This world that we live in, it's not the condemnation and judgment, it's not sustainable because nothing I look at younger comedians now, I swear to God, it'll say 1 million views or 500,000 views on YouTube, and I won't even laugh. I'll be like, okay. Everything is the most careful, benign observational, benign observations. It's observational comedy, but nothing that could, you can be offensive, but not racist or sexist. If it's a joke rooted in, if everyone's laughing and it's funny, Don Rickles went after everybody, but he was funny. He could never... Howard Stern, for example, who completely changed. He could never get started in this world. This world, this new cyber reality that, is like, he calls Tucker Carlson a horrible human being. Aria Lee! Thank you, Aria. Thank you so much. Very kind of you, Aria. You are wonderful. Thank you so much, Aria Lee. And now they want us to not only pay for carbon taxes, and now, how can we afford to pay for that? Also, where does it end? Will it ever end? Each generation will want more and claim their parents didn't give them. Well, that's the thing, Aria Lee. Democrats, that's one of the policies they will never implement. Aria Lee, thank you. What the Democrats do is they say, well, we'll look into it. You couldn't find a greater example of deception, like Medicare for all, the policy you just talked about, Medicare for all, the policy you just talked about, Green New Deal legislation, universal basic income, $15 minimum wage, all of these left-leaning policies, they are never going to implement. The Democratic Party will never implement. The Democratic Party is always, we're marginally better than Republicans. So, Aria, thank you so very much. We're marginally better than Republicans. Incremental change. Incremental change. It's interesting, too, because the comedian or the actor or the producer or director, like I was watching yesterday Eurotrip and American Pie and all of these great teen movies from the early 2000s and late 90s. And they're hilarious. The next movie that is like of that mold, like that kind, even like if you look at The Hangover, they'd probably complain about The Hangover. Any movie, and Aria, thank you so very, very much, as always. That's just part of what the Democratic Party does. They're not really they don't really want to implement any transformative policies. They just want people to think that they'll implement transformative policies. Aria, thank you so much. Before Twitter, humanity's never-ending, the negativity that existed within millions and millions of people didn't have an outlet. You didn't have an outlet to just say, I don't like this. And, I mean, you just didn't have that platform that was specifically designed to harness negative emotions and sentiments and thoughts, condemnation and judgment. And then while you're at it, you can preach and moralize and give sermons and give speeches on how you are moral. But does anybody ask, well, what do you think God is okay with this? That you are trying to ruin someone's life because somebody said something bad 10 years ago? You think in terms of theology, because like a lot of these people that live in cyberspace, and that's fine. It's totally fine to be an atheist or agnostic. In many cases, philosophically, I'm, agnostic in many ways, although I do believe in God. I mean, I wrote 2 books, Logic of Demons and Breaking the Devil's Heart, that talk about these themes. Fantasy novels, but you can see them on hagoodman.com. They're in Kindle format. But does anyone ever wonder, like, if let's say, like an atheist or a person who just lives in cyberspace, their spiritual sustenance is derived from condemnation in cyberspace. So there are a lot of people, unfortunately, who get a thrill. It's an actual thrill. like they feel good about themselves because they can condemn and judge. And it's political power that they wouldn't, without Twitter, they would never get. But in times past, thank you, Arya, thank you again, thank you. In times past, discussions about morality would center around actions, like what people did, and what God thinks. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize, what kind of behavior is good and what kind of behavior is bad. But if you are trying to ruin someone's life for a tweet they wrote 10 years back, what does that say about you as a human being? What does that say about what God thinks of you? So if you're an atheist, what does that say about you as a human being, your humanist principles? Is that good? Well, I'm teaching a lesson. No, you're not. You're just basically touching yourself in ecstasy over the demise of a political opponent. There's nothing good about that. It's the Schadenfreude associated with today's cyber bullying. Oh, well, if we're then they call it a reckoning. We're holding them accountable. It's like your ideas should be, yes, Eric H526, it's true. That's true. Yelp, I don't it's hit and miss. It's hit and miss. Because that's a place, Yelp is a place where you can get some knowledge or perspective, but then it's warped. So but it's like these issues pertaining to Tucker Carlson. A lot of what is taking place today would never take place in another time period. Sparky! Alan West should have been Trump's VP instead of Mike. Honestly, I agree with you. Sparky, I agree with you. I think that at the end of the day, he picked somebody he shouldn't have picked. I do agree with you on that. Sparky! I actually don't think that President Trump realized what he was getting. I don't think that he realized the vitriol and the venom that was leveled against him. I don't think that he realized this. So Arya, thank you. Sparky, thank you so very much. I don't think that he realized this. Who told you? I know it's part of my annoying personality. Who told you to get off of Twitter 3 years ago? To all of late 2018, all of 2019, all of 2020, I told you, get off of Twitter. I haven't had going on 3 years now. I haven't had a Twitter account in going on 3 years. And I told everyone, I said, there's no reason to be on that platform. There's no, you liked something. You liked a sentiment that has been deemed immoral. Therefore, you agree with everything that person has ever. You liked a sentiment from a person who one day said that he didn't like apple pie. Well, actually, that would be, in today's world, that would be linked to empire, and then that would be linked to this and that, and then you know what, it'd be bad. They don't actually have arguments. They have degrees of separation that they utilize. Well, you listen to this person. And this person said this 10 years back or 1 year back. And so therefore you agree with that person. So therefore you're a bad person. It's like, who are these imbeciles judging and condemning? The only thing they have is complaining to the 20 publications that will utilize them to just push a political viewpoint. That's it. Hi, Carolyn. Hello. It'll be interesting what I think they already tried to get Tucker Carlson's. I think they already tried to get his sponsors. Oh, John Oliver breaks down why Tucker Carlson is a. Oh, here we go. This is Daily Beast. John Oliver breaks down why Tucker Carlson is a supremacist. Gee, how do you break that down? John Oliver, as if there weren't enough John Oliver, Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, James Corden. How many, Saturday Night Live? Do you have enough? Do you have enough? All of Hollywood on Twitter, all of Hollywood. You can't work in Hollywood if you like Trump at all. Is there enough of an advantage Democrats have to just reshape reality? Let's hear this. Okay, so his dad married an heiress. So he went to boarding school. See, again, this has nothing to do with his... Pretty much everything in this article is distorting, quotes from Tucker Carlson, never giving him the context or the vantage point that is demanded. Oh, and he's the favorite of really bad people. Here. Oh, my God. So, and there you go. And that's all you need to know. John Oliver stated that Tucker Carlson is pretty much one of the worst human beings you could ever be, which, of course, he's not. And the article is basically just another hit piece. And yet, Tucker Carlson will still convey his arguments, and his arguments will never be debated or discussed or addressed. They don't address his arguments. They address the emotions that they feel from what he says. It's pretty unbelievable. Sochi, hello. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. Thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so very, very much. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Sparky! Sparky! Establishment made Trump pick. That's true. Or else Republicans would find a way to... Exactly. I agree with you, Sparky. But there had to have been... You know what would have been really interesting? I don't know. There had to have been a conservative Republican that he could pick that didn't have, the character traits of just turning on him. So there you go. It's all of these CNN news. These are all the publications. This is all the publications that went after CNN, Newsweek, Daily Beast, Chicago Tribune, Business Insider, CBS News. Washington Post again. They're all can you have a viewpoint actually addressed in this day and age? Can you actually explain why Tucker Carlson is wrong? Why? Don't just say, well, experts say he's wrong, because you can find a lot more veterans who would agree with him. And you can find a great many female veterans. We have one here on this chat that agrees with Tucker Carlson. So, like, Aria, thank you again. Sparky, thank you again. He has a viewpoint that is never addressed. Like, they simply love to condemn and judge based on emotion and engage in the most hyperbolic anyone who disagrees and forms a coherent, logical, reasonable, rational argument, gives data, facts, statistics. If it's a vantage point that is viewed to be blasphemous, if it's a vantage point that's viewed to be, he's a heretic, heretical. If it's a vantage point that they deem immoral because it just contradicts what they view, what they believe, then the public relations spin comes out. Oh my God. And see, conservatives don't have that. Where's the Republican Party backing? You have like parts of the United States government, the Twitter accounts going after Tucker Carlson. Where's the Republican Party backing him? Where's Mitt Romney? I thought Mitt Romney was this conservative. Where's Mitt Romney? Where's Ben Sass? Where's Adam Kinzinger? Where do they all agree with Democrats on these issues? Where are all the never Trumpers? Where are all the people who support Trump? Where's the Republican Party? They're completely like petrified. You don't have, like, conservatives don't have, and I'm not like a conservative on every issue. I'm liberal on a bunch of issues. But conservatives don't have this this public relations monstrosity. They simply don't have this public relations monstrosity. They don't have it. They just simply don't have it. I mean, it's like a nuclear sub versus a, fishing boat. The fishing boat being the Republican Party in terms of public relations. You cannot work in Hollywood. You have a multi-billion-dollar industry. You will not work if you say that you voted for Trump. Or if you even, look at that poor banjo player. Look at that poor musician. And he apologized. What good did it do him? He could have simply said, look, if you don't, the band could have said, look, we don't agree with him, but he has a right to his opinion. But the band didn't even back him up. And I get it, it's their source of livelihood. I get that, I understand, but they're already famous. So I don't get it. You can't have any viewpoint? My God almighty. And that's the thing, you don't see many people trying to get on Tucker Carlson. That's because at the end of the day, if they actually tried to debate him, all they would have is a different viewpoint. They wouldn't be morally superior. All they would have is a different viewpoint. All they would have is a different viewpoint. When I debated, I actually did something that Democrats are too cowardly, or liberal pundits are too cowardly to do. I debated Richard Spencer and opposed his ideologies, and in the last 20 minutes, I explained to the world what his, the atrocious, horrendous world, the terrible existence that his ideology would lead to. So I explained how heinous and, despicable that world would be in the last 20 minutes. I did so with reason and logic in a civil discussion. But I opposed viewpoints through reason and logic and rational thought that I completely find reprehensible. Democrats don't do that. They try to disparage through ad hominem. They try to utilize this absurd, warped logic, the logical reasoning skills of the average pundit on the left is, oh my God, 10 publications disagree, oh my God, everyone on Twitter is offended, therefore it's immoral to view things this way. And by the way, when they get caught saying the most offensive things, when Yad Vashem actually had to refute AOC's despicable, horrendous revisionist history, silence. You get nothing. You had Yad Vashem in Jerusalem refute in a tweet telling AOC to learn more about the topic that she obviously knew nothing about, because it's all public relations. For Democrats, it's all public relations. Those are the same facilities, by the way, that President Biden is using, without the same apoplectic outrage. I mean, you're talking about the biggest hypocrites of all time, generally, many people on the left, not all. They turned into the 2000 Republicans. They are not like... It's interesting, too, because the people who condemn the most have the most to hide. Oh, they have the most to hide. And it's interesting. You have about 5 or 6 or probably 7 or 8 journalists that are always, or pundits, or, just people in cyberspace that are always condemning, always judging, always pontificating. I mean, you saw what happened with the Lincoln Project. Now you're seeing they're completely disgraced. You saw what happened with Andrew Cuomo. Completely and utterly disgraced. So it's pretty unbelievable. Thank you, Mario. Thank you so very much, Mario. Thank you. I don't know if everybody could see the comment, but it's very nice. Thank you, Mario. Thank you. This is not sustainable. This era in American politics will be a fleeting moment. It's interesting too, because great many liberal Democrats think that this is their time, they're going to control, the future is ours. No, look. Once Republicans actually grow a spine and defend 74 million Americans, once you go ahead and have the House run by Republicans, which will happen in 2 years, then you'll have an actual, once you have the House run by Republicans, you'll actually have a different vantage point. All you had for 4 years was Trump versus the entire planet. Now you have Tucker Carlson versus the entire planet. Is there any, of course you have Ben Shapiro and you have conservatives and you have, but I'm talking about is there anyone in Hollywood, for example? Well, there are. That's true. You have a whole bunch of people that actually have a more conservative viewpoint on things. But the public relations monstrosity is just leveled against them. And that's the thing, all you would have to do, never apologize. Never apologize. If you that banjo player, I'm not going to get into the band or whatever, but what did he do so bad? I realized that my viewpoint hurt people. Your viewpoint didn't hurt anyone. People didn't agree with it, and so what? Like you don't hurt somebody by disagreeing with them. Sorry. Like when did that happen? When in the world did a different viewpoint? Okay, we know it's 4 years of saying Trump is a despot who emboldened everybody horrible. First president to allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. Signed prison reform legislation. President Biden wrote the portion of the crime bill where there's 100-to-1 sentencing disparity. But he's a good person. When he's awake, he's a very good person. Except there was a police report filed by Miss Reed. So there you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very much, everybody. Aria, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And what can I say other than this is not like Twitter will become MySpace once you don't have, because they're not like, they're going for subscriptions. I've explained this in many segments. It's not a platform that's going to survive. And not that the billionaires or millionaires that made money from Twitter care, but it's going to be MySpace eventually. It's not going, we're the only country in the world, by the way, maybe the UK, but we're the only country in the world, 180 plus countries in the entire world. We're the only country in the world that actually takes what people say on Twitter so seriously that it like dominates political thought, which is why people can condemn and judge who don't deserve to condemn and judge, and engage in absurd, hyperbolic, irrational arguments, because those are the types of things that are amplified the most on Twitter. But once that's gone, what ideas that Democrats have, what ideas will resonate in the real world? What ideas are going to resonate in the real world? Not many. There'll be some, but not many. There'll be a lot more conservative ideas that resonate actually in the real world, like a focus on business, opening up the economy. You can look at statistics. The states with the most draconian measures have the worst outcomes. I'm not making it up. Go to the New York Times statistics, the aggregate stats. Then they have to break it down into weeks. So, and these, can go on forever. Give me your thoughts below. Aria, thank you. Paul, thank you. Everybody, thank you so very much. To my super tree climber. The Republican House will show McCarthy's true colors. Yeah, I wouldn't mind also replacing Kevin McCarthy, although he's good. I kind of understand like what Kevin McCarthy has to do. He has to placate the never-Trumpers that exist also. But I think like Jim Jordan or Matt Gaetz or Devin Nunes, I think Devin Nunes, my God, if anybody deserves to be Speaker of the House, it's Devin Nunes. If anyone deserves to be Speaker of the House, it's Devin Nunes. My God. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like, thank you so very much, Tree Climber. Aria, thank you. Tree Climber, thank you. Eric, Luke, thank you so very much, everyone. Thanks. Great live stream tonight. Had a lot of fun. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.